All right. Ever seen one of those street games, with like the cups and a ball?
Yeah.
Looks easy, right?
Uh-huh.
Well, today we're going to do a deep dive into the world of the shell game.
Okay.
It's this classic con that's been tricking people for centuries.
Hmm.
And we're going to be looking at an excerpt from a book called The Big Con, The History of the Confidence Game.
Sounds good.
We're going to learn not just how it works, but the psychology behind WHO Atoisai. It's so effective.
Right.
And don't worry, this isn't just about avoiding getting scammed at like a county fair or something,
Yeah.
This is about understanding the principles of like misdirection and persuasion skills you can use in everyday life, whether you're negotiating a deal or just trying to spot a fake news story or something.
Mm-hmm.
So what's interesting about the shell game is that it preys on these deeply ingrained human tendencies, right?
Totally.
We naturally seek patterns, we trust what we see, and we get lured in by the possibility of like a quick win.
Yeah, exactly.
And the shell game manipulates all of that.
Absolutely. It preys on all of it. Yeah. I think what's really interesting is how, it's this seemingly straightforward setup, right?
Yeah.
3 cups and a small object. And then it just leads to this elaborate trickery.
The source really emphasizes the speed and misdirection involved.
Oh, for sure, yeah. It's all about, like, think about it. The operator's deliberately bombarding all of your senses.
Yeah.
Like all the rapid movements, the chatter, the focus on that winning cup.
Right.
It's all meant to just, like, distract you from the subtle manipulations happening right there in front of you.
Yeah.
Right under your nose.
It's almost like a magic act.
It is.
Except the magic here is designed to just empty your wallet, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's where, like, the psychology of the con really comes into play.
Okay.
It's not even just the physical manipulation.
Right.
It's about creating an environment of trust and excitement.
Oh, okay.
A lot of times, shell game operators, they plant these shills in the crowd.
Interesting.
There's these seemingly regular people who, like, win big to encourage you to join in.
So it's like that classic, if they can win, I can too mentality.
Exactly. It's a manipulation tactic called social proof.
Oh.
It's like, we're just wired to follow the crowd.
Right.
Especially when it seems like, oh, everyone's winning.
Yeah.
But of course, those winners are just part of the scam.
Yeah.
And once you're hooked, the pressure to keep betting, often with like increasingly higher stakes, that's when it kicks in.
Right. And that ties into the sunk cost fallacy. Like the more we invest, the harder it is to walk away.
Exactly.
Even when like logic says we should just get out of there.
Right.
It's almost like we're trying to like justify that initial decision by just throwing more money in.
Yeah.
Good money after bad.
Yeah. The show game operator's counting on you to fall into that trap.
Yeah.
They understand that once you've committed,
Yeah.
you're more likely to keep playing.
Yeah.
Even when the odds are totally stacked against you.
So how do we protect ourselves? I mean, are there any telltale signs that just scream, this is a scam, get out of here?
So the source highlights several red flags, like vague or like constantly changing rules.
Oh, okay.
Overly enthusiastic crowds.
Yeah.
Like you can tell they're staged.
Oh, yeah.
And any pressure to bet, like quickly or for higher amounts.
Okay.
If your gut's telling you something feels off,
Yeah.
it probably is. So don't ignore those instincts.
Yeah.
Even if you can't pinpoint exactly what's wrong,
Right.
that feeling of unease,
Yeah.
that's often a good indicator that you're in a situation where you could be manipulated.
Yeah. It's like that saying, like, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's not just about street scams either, right?
Yeah, not at all.
These principles apply in so many other contexts.
Yeah.
Like, you mentioned get-rich-quick schemes.
Right.
What are some other examples where these tactics pop up in, like, everyday life?
I mean, think about marketing and advertising.
Oh, okay.
Like those commercials that showcase, the product's dazzling features.
Right.
But conveniently omit any downsides.
Yes. Yeah.
Or, those influencer endorsements. The ones that leverage social proof to make you crave. Like the latest trends.
Like they're creating a shell game with our attention.
Exactly.
They're highlighting all the shiny distractions and downplaying any potential drawbacks or whatever.
Precisely. And let's not forget about limited time offers.
Yeah.
Flash sales. Those are classic examples of manufactured urgency.
Yeah.
They pressure you to make a decision before you've even had time to think it through.
Yeah. It's amazing how prevalent these techniques are, you know?
I know, right?
Once you start looking for them,
Yeah.
it's almost like a hidden language of manipulation that's just like all around us.
Right.
So understanding the shell game is really about becoming more savvy, a more critical thinker in general.
Totally.
But before we jump into like how these principles apply to everyday life, I'm kind of curious, like, where did this con even originate?
Right.
I mean, it feels so timeless, you know?
It really is. It's been around for centuries.
Wow.
The big con mentions evidence of it even appearing in ancient Rome.
Oh, wow.
And even earlier.
It was an ancient scam.
Oh, yeah. And it's even, like, depicted in art and literature throughout history.
Interesting.
You know, and that underscores its longevity and its impact on culture.
That's incredible.
Right.
Like, to think that a scam that we see on street corners today has roots going back thousands of years, it's a testament to its effectiveness, I guess.
It is. It also speaks volumes about human psychology.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that it's endured for so long.
Yeah.
It really suggests that the vulnerabilities that it exploits, like, you know, our desire for easy money, our susceptibility to deception, those are deeply ingrained in us.
It's kind of sobering, honestly.
Yeah, it is.
But I mean, knowing that this type of manipulation is so deeply rooted in human history makes understanding it even more important. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
By learning about, like, the shell game's history and the specific techniques used, we can start to recognize those patterns in other areas of our lives and protect ourselves more effectively.
Exactly.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the shell game.
Okay.
So, you know, we've been talking about this scam.
Yeah.
And we've established that it's not just day in about, like, big hand movements, right?
Right.
It's this carefully orchestrated performance designed to, like, manipulate your perceptions and exploit your vulnerabilities.
It's like a psychological magic trick where the audience is the one who, like, disappears, right?
Exactly.
Along with their money.
A perfect analogy to really understand how it works. So we need to delve into the specific techniques used.
Okay.
So the big con, the source we're looking at, it outlines, like, 3 primary methods. Palming, swapping, and subtle removal.
Okay, let's break those down.
Okay.
So starting with palming, what exactly does that entail?
So, like, imagine this, right?
Yeah.
The operator shows you the ball, then appears to place it under a cup. But with, like, this subtle maneuver, they actually retain the ball in their palm.
Interesting.
Making it seem to, like, vanish into thin air.
Oh, wow.
It's a classic sleight of hand technique that requires, like, incredible dexterity and years of practice.
It sounds almost impossible to detect, you know?
It is.
Especially amidst all the other distractions.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why misdirection is so crucial.
Okay.
You know, the operator wants your eyes glued to one cup while they're manipulating another.
Oh.
This brings us to our second technique.
Okay.
Swapping.
Okay.
Here, the operator rapidly switches the positions of 2 cups, creating the illusion that they've just, like, stayed stationary.
No.
It's all about speed and timing.
Okay.
Exploiting, like, the limits of our visual perception.
So while we're trying to track one cup, the real action is happening elsewhere.
Yeah.
Completely off our radar.
Exactly. And then there's, like, the most subtle technique.
Okay.
Subtle removal.
Okay.
This is where the operator uses, like, this quick, almost imperceptible movement to remove the object from under a cup.
Okay.
You know, during the shuffle. It might involve a slight flick of the wrist or a deft touch with the finger.
Yeah.
All while, you know, your attention is focused somewhere else.
It's fascinating how these techniques play on our cognitive biases, right?
Totally.
Like, we tend to focus on what we expect to see,
Yeah.
not necessarily what's actually happening.
Yeah.
I mean, no wonder it's so easy to get tricked.
Right. The shell game operator. Like, they're a master manipulator using psychology and sleight of hand to create this, like, convincing illusion.
Okay.
But what's truly remarkable is how these same principles are used in, like, countless other scenarios, you know?
Right.
Often in, like, much subtler ways.
we touched upon this earlier, but I'd love to explore it further.
Okay, yeah.
You mentioned get-rich-quick schemes.
Right.
What are some other examples where these tactics pop up in, like, everyday life?
So, like, think about marketing and advertising.
Okay.
You know, like those commercials that showcase a product's, dazzling features.
Right.
While conveniently omitting, like, any downsides. Or how about, like, those influencer endorsements that just, like, leverage social proof to make you crave the latest trends?
It's like they're creating a shell game with our attention.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Highlighting the shiny distractions and, downplaying any potential drawbacks or whatever.
Exactly. And let's not forget about, like, limited time offers, flash sales, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Those are classic examples of, like, manufactured urgency.
Yeah.
They pressure you to make a decision before you've even had time to think it through.
It's amazing how prevalent these techniques are once you start looking for them.
I know, right?
It's almost like this, like, hidden language of manipulation, that surrounds us. So understanding the shell game is really about becoming more aware.
Right. Of the subtle ways we're constantly being persuaded, influenced, even manipulated.
Absolutely.
But how do we go from, like, awareness to action?
Right.
Like, how do we actually protect ourselves from falling prey to these tactics? We've spent this deep dive exploring the shell game.
Yeah.
But it feels like we've uncovered, like, a whole playbook of these manipulative techniques that go way beyond, like, street corners and carnivals.
You're totally right. What makes the shell game so fascinating is that it's like this microcosm of the persuasion and the manipulation that we encounter every day.
So how do we, like, equip ourselves to navigate this world where, persuasion and sometimes manipulation seem to be lurking around every corner?
It all starts with awareness.
Okay.
So by understanding, like, the tactics used in the shell game, misdirection, social proof, manufactured urgency, we can become more attuned to those in other contexts.
Okay.
And the key is to just, like, develop a healthy skepticism, especially when you're faced with, like, situations that trigger these strong emotional responses.
Yeah.
Be it, like, excitement, fear, a desire to fit in, that kind of thing.
It's like developing a built-in scam detector.
Exactly.
Constantly scanning for those, like, telltale signs of manipulation.
Right. But even awareness alone isn't enough.
Yeah, okay.
We also need to cultivate this habit of, like, questioning our assumptions.
Okay.
Don't just accept things at face value, right?
Yeah.
Dig a little deeper.
Okay.
Ask questions.
Right.
And, like, be willing to challenge the information presented to you.
This makes me think about all the information that we encounter online, like, from news articles to social media posts to, like, those too good to be true offers that flood our inbox every day.
Oh, yeah, that's a prime example.
Yeah.
Like, the online world, it's just a breeding ground for misinformation and manipulative tactics.
Yeah.
So learning to approach everything you see online with a critical eye, that's crucial.
Okay.
Look for, like, source credibility.
Yeah.
Fact check the information.
Right.
Be wary of anything that just seems designed to, like, provoke an immediate emotional response.
So much of what we've discussed boils down to, like, trusting our gut instincts. But, I mean, in a world where we're, like, constantly bombarded with information and persuasion, how do we know when those instincts are, like, reliable?
That's a great question. I think our instincts are most reliable when they're, like, informed by knowledge and experience.
Okay.
The more we understand, like, how Moby manipulation works, the better equipped we are to just, like, recognize it and act accordingly.
Okay.
Trusting your gut isn't about, being blindly suspicious.
Right.
It's about being aware of, like, the potential for deception.
Okay.
And just using your judgment to navigate those situations.
It seems like the biggest takeaway from this deep dive isn't just about, avoiding getting scammed on the street or something.
Yeah.
It's about becoming, like, more discerning, more critical thinkers in all aspects of our lives.
That's it.
This deep dive has been a real eye-opener. I feel like I've gained a lot of, like, valuable tools,
Yeah.
Not just for spotting scams, but for like approaching information and decision making with like more awareness and critical thinking.
Absolutely.
So thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of the shell game.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
We hope you take these insights with you and use them to navigate the world with more awareness and confidence.
For sure.
So until next time,
Right.
stay curious and stay vigilant.
Absolutely.